Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com.
Explore historic waterways in 2025 with Scenic on the most inclusive cruise on Europe's rivers. Enjoy up to 5 dining experiences, spacious suites, and butler service. Be immersed in the culture with enriching free choice excursions and exclusive events. Scenic, in a class of its own. Book now and save.
Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, FishingBooker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, FishingBooker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. FishingBooker. Fishing trips made easy.
Let's be honest, when most folks hear salad, they think of sad lettuce and bottled ranch at the back of the fridge. But out in the wild, salad is a whole different beast. In this episode, we're tossing together smoked fish, grilled venison hearts, foraged greens, wild mushrooms, basically everything your average Caesar could only dream of. Salads might seem simple, but when you're building them with wild food, they become a true celebration of season, place, and a little creativity. We'll dig into the surprisingly salty history of salad, share our favorite wild salad recipes, and give you all the tips you need to take your salad game from soggy to showstopper. Grab a fork, and let's dig in.
Join Justin Townsend and the Harvesting Nature crew as they explore the world of cooking wild fish and game while sharing recipes, tips, tricks, and lessons learned from their pursuit of wild food. We sure hope you ate before the show, 'cause you're gonna leave hungry. This is the Wild Fish and Game Podcast.
To make a salad, take 2 large cabbage lettuces, clean them very well, wash them and swing them in a clean napkin. Then pick the leaves and throw away all the rotten and dirty. Then tear them with your hands and lay them into a large china dish and throw over them some clean watercresses, a little cress, a few tarragon leaves, and chives cut small. If you have any burnet, throw a few leaves in. Then take the yolk of a hard egg and mash it with a spoonful of fine oil. Then add 2 spoonfuls of vinegar, a little salt and mustard. Mix all well together and pour over your salad, and garnish the dish with hard eggs cut in quarters, and a few nasturtium flowers. Hannah Glass, The Art of Cookery Made Plain and Easy, 1747.
All right. Well, before we start talking more about salads, let's hit up some current events here. I think Adam's got a big piece of news. I'm going to talk real quickly about these bomb tamales I made yesterday. So I took all the remaining goose wobbly bits from our snow goose camp, so like a year old in the freezer. I'm trying to clear out my freezer. So I took all these goose wobbly bits, so gizzards, liver, heart. I had some jackrabbit I threw in there too, and basically slow cooked it in this Oaxacan sauce that was really tasty. And once they got all super tender, about I think 6 or 7 hours I cooked them for. I took a little bit of the sauce and then all those bits and I put them in the food processor and kind of made this not quite pate consistency, but still pretty pasty, not ground meat, but a little different. And then I filled that into some tamales, and oh my gosh, they came out so good. I had probably 2 dozen of them. Took some to a party yesterday, and then just enjoying the rest here. Both my 12-year-old approved. I don't think my 5-year-old ventured enough into it to give them a go, but I think it was a win for me because that's my second time ever making tamales, and was pretty happy with how they came out. So yeah, fun stuff.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It was really good. I was thinking through just different things to do with those kind of wobbly bits, and I was like, we've done a lot with gizzards, I think both in your space and on the Harvest Nature website. So I was like, let me do something different. So I would say this is probably a good way you could utilize any organ meat, especially if you weren't keen on eating, like big chunks of like liver and onions or, any which way. I kind of akin it to when you make dirty rice. If you were to take out the rice and just have the meat portion of it left over, that's what it would be, but it was just flavored with Mexican spices and sauces. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I like it.
All right, you got big news. What's your big news?
Well, coming off our chat with Pascal Baudard the other week, which I encourage you all to go listen to. It was a really cool episode. He's a forager and a fermentation alchemist. And he had all sorts of fun stuff to show us and talk about. But he said something that really struck a chord with me, in that you could just learn one plant a week, and by the end of the year you would know 52 plants, and you'd be more of an expert on plants than 99.999% of the population of the world. And it's pretty easy. And in my life, I've found that I've been learning plants, maybe not that quick, but almost as quick. And it does really come together quickly. And it's so satisfying and awesome. So we decided to do a 1 plant per week project, where we're going to be posting a new plant, forageable, edible plant every week, every Monday, and starting in May. So the first Monday in May, we're going to start with dandelion and move on from there. Dandelion's a really calm and easy one to start it with. And so I hope you guys can follow along, learn a new plant every week with us, and get out there and find them, familiarize yourself with them, and eventually hopefully harvest them and eat them too. So I'm super excited to do this, and I think it's an easy way to make all of us better foragers, just know your surroundings better, better survivalists, just a little bit of everything. And it's great for your nutrition too. So please join us in that and stay tuned for more.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it as a project as well, just to be on the receiving end of all the knowledge. I was at my buddy's house in northwestern Virginia last weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend before, and I was hitting Adam up with like, hey, look what I found. Check this out. I found like the garlic mustard, some wild garlic mustard. I found some nettle. I found
purple dead nettle.
Yeah, purple-headed dead nettle. I found some wild onions. I found lots of cool things. So I think just like I was also turkey hunting while I was out there, but less successful than my foraging. So I was just kind of walking around his property, just like seeing what I could find. Is this edible? What is it? And now I've had some conversations with my wife and kids, and they're all kind of like latched onto the things that I harvested, and then I made. I took the garlic mustard, and made some like scallion style pancakes, which were really cool, and served them up to everybody while we were there at the cabin, and everybody really enjoyed them. They were like, oh, wow, it's foraged stuff. And I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was neat. I'm excited for your segment and to see where it's going to go, seeing the articles posted and people's reaction to that.
Yeah. And it's a good way for hunters to bring something home if they're not successful. Mm-hmm. And these are all good candidates for making salads, which kind of fits right into our theme today with our Wild Kitchen podcast.
Absolutely. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick it off. Salads are one of the most versatile ways to showcase wild foods. They offer a fresh, simple canvas for foraged ingredients and wild fish and game to shine. The beauty of using wild foods in salads is their seasonality. What goes in your bowl changes with the landscape, turning every salad into a celebration of place and time. So as we think through that, really, this conversation kind of goes through exactly that, like place and time. You're not going to be able to get everything all the time. There are ways to preserve, and we've covered a lot of that, I think, in the past week. But in reality, the cool thing is that we're returning to this whole concept of eating seasonally, which I think is very in tune with the way that a lot of us want to eat. And I mean, we have to get over the fact that you can get strawberries in the grocery store, 365 days out of the year. And in reality, strawberry season is like a short period. So that's something that we're kind of going against the grain with when we're talking about salads and the perspective we are. But I think it's a very healthy conversation to do that. So as we think through this, we're going to give you a lot of the tools to really up your salad game, and it's going to be kind of valuable as you think of salad beyond, as I mentioned in the intro, like Caesar or ranch dressing or croutons. Like, we're going to dive deep and hopefully change your perspective or reshape your perspective on salads. But first, let's talk about the history.
Yeah, so here comes my favorite time of the podcast. I don't know if anyone else enjoys it or not, but I'm always a nerd for food history. So the word salad comes to us from the French salade, which in turn came from the Roman Latin herba salata. And you may notice that the root word for salad is sal, which is something I'd never really noticed before. But that root word can be found in many words associated with salt, such as celery. And everyone's favorite fun fact to bore their friends and families with is that the lore goes anyways, that the Roman soldiers were at one point paid in salt, which is where the term salary came from. The only problem with that is there's no direct proof of soldiers ever being paid in salt, and it's much more likely that the word is associated with soldiers conquering and guarding salt mines and salt trade routes into Rome, because salt was so important. So there's me ruining everyone's fun fact again. I'm a real fun guy.
No, we're talking about salads, not mushrooms.
Yeah, salads, yeah. So why is salad associated with the Latin word for salt then? In Roman times, salad leaves, herbs, and vegetables were often seasoned with a salty brine or a brine, vinegar, and oil mix that preceded modern-day vinaigrettes, basically. So they would just season their salad with salt water, basically. Hence, salted herbs, herba salata, salad, salad. And that's where salad comes from. Historians first found that term salad, the English salad, being used in the 14th century. So it's been around actually for longer than a lot of English words. But the history of salad goes way back before the 14th century, and even before the ancient Romans, as the Egyptians have records of lettuce being grown and consumed around 2700 BCE. It was likely consumed far before that with hunters and gatherers. The Egyptians and Babylonians would often eat lettuces, pungent herbs, spicy leaves like radish tops, and raw onions, all dressed in salt, oil, and vinegar as a meal that was thought to benefit digestion and was known to promote good health. So things haven't changed all that much. Salads are still known to promote good health, still known to benefit digestion, and are still dressed in salt, oil, and vinegar. So that's something that's been pretty consistent throughout most of human history. The Greeks seem to be the first to add cheese and olives to the salad, meaning that the grocery store clamshell Greek salad you just had for lunch the other day is one of the older recipes that exist in the world, which is kind of crazy. As mentioned, the Romans continued the salad tradition, believing that consuming lettuce was not only healthy, but produced better sleeps. So they would eat lettuce to sleep better at night. So salads would often be served as a palate cleanser or as a side to a larger meal in the upper crust of Roman society. As the Romans pushed outwards, they brought their salad traditions with them, leaving an indelible effect on the regions they overtook, all throughout Europe, some parts of Africa and East. By medieval times, salad often became cooked affairs due to the use of human waste as fertilizer on crops. So raw vegetables were likely to make you sick because of using that raw human fertilizer. So they were mostly avoided and cooked. And the same thing was happening in the East and China at the time, where raw vegetables were generally quickly steamed, braised, or stir-fried before eaten, and rarely eaten raw. And I would be cooking mine too, I think, at that point.
Yeah, that's gross. Although we say that, there's still like salmonella and all kinds of crazy foodborne illness outbreaks in modern times, so it's not like we've gotten any better.
Yeah, it's true. We're getting stuff all over. There's E. coli over lettuce all the time. By the 14th century, so we're getting like Renaissance area, salads were being added to cookbooks, so some of the first cookbooks, and were being thought of as a full meal rather than just a side. So many people began adding meats, vegetables, starches, and fruits to their salad to turn them into a full meal. Salmagundi, a popular form of salad originating in Italy, became very popular across much of Europe in the 1600s, and the dish was typically served as an array of meats on a bed of lettuce dressed with a basic vinaigrette. Britain at the time was still unsure about eating raw vegetables, and despite pressure from scientists, gardeners, botanists, and even a mention by Shakespeare himself, the salad didn't quite catch on for years to come. They still preferred just boiling their greens. Salad then made its way over to the Americas along with European immigrants, and there are old documents showing requests from new Americans back home to Europe for salad oil, vinegar, and lettuce seeds to be shipped out to the far-flung colonies. So people were craving salads big time, enough to send very expensive requests for ships to bring stuff over. The Caesar salad, which turned into one of the world's most famous salads, was created in the early 1900s in Tijuana, Mexico by an Italian immigrant named Cesar Cardini. That restaurant where he created it still exists today. You can go try the original Caesar salad if you like. I think it's made at the table. So it was by an Italian immigrant, but the recipe was actually from Mexico. So Caesar salad is Mexican, not Italian. Oddly enough. Modern salads really hit their stride through the health food craze that went from the 60s into the 90s and became part of most family meals. Fast food joints even started serving them for a healthy, I have air quotes happening here, option amongst their greasy offerings. So there was such a demand for salad that even fast food started offering them. And today, salads are still going strong and are being influenced by newly arrived immigrants, health trends, and inventive cooks and chefs, and I would say by wild food. I see more and more wild food being incorporated into salads. That's a history of salad.
I was just thinking back, sort of like you were talking about making Caesar salad at the table, and I don't know, this is me personally. Are you a dressing on top guy? Or are you like a dressing tossed in the salad kind of guy? I'm
a tossed guy.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, fully tossed.
Same too. I find like it's such a travesty when you get like a thing of, you get a thing of salad and there's like a side dressing, and I have to like pour this on top of my salad, and then I have to eat it, and then maybe I saved some, maybe I didn't, or I just have to eat like undressed vegetables at the bottom.
Yeah, a bunch of bay leaves. Like even the clamshell grocery store ones I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And they give you the little packet, but it's too full to actually dress.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to shake it, then you make a big mess. Yeah. It's tough. I like dress.
I feel like at every salad buffet there should just be like a big open bowl that you could just like dress, like toss the salad around and dress it and all that.
Just one of those like paint can shakers from the hardware store.
Yeah.
Dump it into there and it shakes.
It would be perfect.
Yeah.
I got one for you though. Do you know why you should always knock before you open the refrigerator?
I don't like it already, but why?
In case there's a salad dressing.
Oh, no.
No, that's a good one.
Okay.
What kind of salads did you eat growing up?
I think we ate pretty plain salads. I think like my parents would often buy like the Caesar salad kit in a box.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And then just have like romaine lettuce and toss it all up together. Or we'd have like 3 or 4 different bottled salad dressings that would just go into like a very simple side salad. So it was just like lettuce, cucumber, tomato, probably not much else, with like Italian dressing or creamy cucumber dressing or Caesar salad dressing, maybe ranch.
Yeah,
I think we're in a big ranch family, but
I think we're ranch. I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma. It's like ranch territory. For like, it's funny because when I go hunt in Wyoming, it's like you go to the diner, cafe, or wherever, and you order salad, and they're like, "You want ranch with that?" Like, you don't even get an option. It's like the first question is, "Do you want ranch?" Yeah. Which is always really fun. But yeah, I think like the Italian dressing was pretty common. I liked Caesar's a lot. It's funny because I think my daughter's now at the same age I was when I started really liking Caesar salads. And I've just always done it. But I like to do like grilled meat on Caesar and not chicken, usually like some sort of wild game. Actually, that's what I was going to do before this episode, and instead I took a nap. So then I just like took a venison tenderloin that I cooked last night and just put it on a piece of bread with some Dijon and ate it. But in my mind, I was going to put it on a salad and then eat it. But you know, life happens, and then you take naps.
Yeah, naps happen. I remember the first time, like, so we only ever had bottle dressing. My parents never made a vinaigrette. I never made a vinaigrette as a child, even though I was cooking quite often. I probably just didn't really know about it. But I remember my uncle one time, he had a sailboat, so we went to have a little picnic beside a sailboat for some reason. And he had made his own Caesar salad dressing out of like raw eggs and everything. Yeah. And tossed the salad right there in front of us. And he had this jar that he had like made it in. And I was so entranced by it. And then I tasted it. I was like, wow, what is this? This is a wholly different experience than the bottled stuff. And I think since then, that might have been the last time I used bottled dressing. I was probably like 11 years old, and I never used it again. I dove deep into vinaigrettes and making salad dressings, and I've just been doing it ever since. And it really goes to show how much better it can be than those bottled ones, which you just kind of assume are the de facto dressing. But it's really easy to make a really good dressing.
It is easy in tune. I think you've got like two levels of bottled dressings. You've got like the bottled dressings that live in the warm aisle, and you've got the bottled dressings that live in the cold aisle. And if I do grab a dressing, it's generally from the cold aisle now. You pay a little more, but also too, if you flip and read the back of the ingredients, it's a lot more comforting what you're eating. I think it is simple to just make like vinaigrette. I remember working in a restaurant in San Diego, and I was working like the garde manger, so like the cold prep stuff, sandwich, salad, stuff like that. And we had to make Caesar from scratch there. We made this really delicious like orange champagne vinaigrette with shallots, and like it was so tasty. And so I think I've replicated that quite a bit. But to make a good vinaigrette, all you need is just vinegar, oil, and then whatever seasonings you want, and you can incorporate juice or sweetener or not, or like it becomes this like blank canvas of whatever you want to put into it. Yeah,
and whatever you have in your fridge. Like I'm often constrained by what just has to be kicking around, and it never stops me from making a great dressing because there's always some weird condiment, whether it's maple syrup or hot sauce or some sort of mustard. There's always something in your fridge or pantry that's going to make a really good season.
Barbecue sauce vinaigrette.
Yeah, something weird like that. But you'll be surprised. It can turn out really good.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good. And then you've got like your more chunkier, which I think there's been a revitalization of like kind of the creamy, chunky based salad dressings versus just a straight vinaigrette. A lot of people have gone for that. So think like ranch dressing, but better is a way to think about it. I think that no matter what you put on there, there's a few steps that you want to follow to kind of keep the path towards a good salad. So you want to start with fresh, dried greens. So I think this is really important. And I would say too, like if you eat a lot of salads, invest in like a salad spinner. They're like super cheap. They don't take up a lot of room in the cabinet, and they're really, really great because you can wash all your greens, like really wash them. Then you don't have to worry about poopy fertilizer. And then you spin them in this salad spinner, and it shakes off all the excess moisture. So that won't make your salad soggy. You get this nice, dry, crisp salad. Also say to you, like if you're storing greens, the best way is like put them in a bowl that's unsealed, but take like a damp washcloth and kind of shelter them. In the restaurants, ironically, the thing that we would take bus tubs, and you'd have your bus tub with a tablecloth, like the cloth tablecloths would be set in the bus tub, and then you would put all your washed greens on top of it, and then you would like fold it up, and then you would just put that in the walk-in, and that's generally the way you stored greens to stay fresh, and that always seemed to do really well. Tear your greens into bite-sized pieces. Don't have these giant wedges of things. You end up with something that you can just eat with a fork. You don't have to worry about cutting it, breaking down. And granted, there's all these people that, deconstructed salads, all these other things where you got big chunks of it. I like to do a cool like grilled romaine salad, but I'll even like cut that down as well after I grill the big romaine pieces. Use a large mixing bowl. This goes back to what sort of Adam and I were talking about earlier. Get that in there, get the dressing, get all your ingredients incorporating, mix them together really, really well. If you don't have large like stainless steel or aluminum bowls in your kitchen, you should. I've got a stack of like 10 of them, varying sizes that we just use repetitively. Add color and texture, incorporate a variety of vegetables, so cucumbers, bell peppers, carrots, tomatoes. This not only enhances the flavor, but it boosts the nutritional value. And then add protein. Proteins are great, right? Wild or domestic meat, seafood, tofu, beans, eggs, anything. It's funny if you think back to the audio clip we had, and as I was doing research to find these excerpts from like I would say 18th and 17th century salad cookbooks or just cookbooks in general, a lot of eggs were incorporated into it. Quarters of eggs, half of eggs, whole eggs. I guess that would be a very easy, already like cooked cold ingredient to add to salads of the time. I won't say cold because I guess they wouldn't have been cold, but easily accessible, we'll say that, compared to that. Whole grains are great, so it doesn't just stop at vegetables and fruits, depending on where you land with a tomato, or the protein. Whole grains are good, so quinoa, barley, farro, brown rice. Those add substance, give fiber, it makes it more satisfying. So cool way to just enhance it. And then I'm a big crunch person. So nuts, seeds, corn, tortilla chip crumbles, like I'll say croutons as well. Like to me, that just kind of gives some extra, but definitely like nuts or seeds, those can do a lot. You think through like pine nuts or even pecans, pistachios. Sunflower seeds are a really common one. I think I see quite a bit. Those are all really good. You need those good healthy fats. And then fresh herbs. So parsley, scallion, cilantro, dill, mint, aromatics, citrus zest, garlic, lemongrass, spices. You can add so much complexity. You can make it as complex or as simple as you want. And I think that's where you get a lot of those wild ingredients in. When I think about just outside of like either game or fish, like the forageables, you can understand the flavor profile of certain wild greens and add those in and incorporate and really mix and match, or sub out lettuce for something that you like that may be from the wild spectrum. But also too, it's not all savory. You can add sweet in there as well. So berries, stone fruit, citrus, apples, raisins, cranberries, mango. Do love mango. It's interesting when you think of a salad and you can get very pigeonholed very quickly to be like, all right, I got my lettuce, I got my cucumber, I got my tomato, I got my carrots, like good to go. But oh my gosh, I think even restaurants sell themselves short sometimes with what they put on the plate compared to what they can. There's so much more. I'd also recommend seasoning your greens with salt and pepper. This is going to enhance their natural flavors and then improve the overall taste. And layer the ingredients thoughtfully. This may be after you sort of get your basic coating of lettuce down with whatever sauce you're using, and then take your grains and proteins and put them at the bottom. And then this will help prevent wilting, all those things. Dress just before serving. You don't want a soggy salad, so don't dress it like later. One of my favorite ways to store salads, and this is thanks to my wife, I'll give her the shout out. She used to have these parties that were called salad in the jar parties, and they would come and everybody would bring one or two ingredients, and then maybe like 5 or 6 people, and then they just put them all out in bowls, and everybody bring like empty, wide mouth mason jars. And you would build salads inside them for the week. And so you'd start all the ways in the bottom, you'd put your sauce in the bottom, and then you put whatever protein or grain there, and then you would stack, and your lettuce was always last on top. And this was to prevent exactly that layering and wilting and soggy lettuce, but it would hold really, really well. And then whenever you're ready for it, all you had to do was pull that out of the fridge, just give it a good shake, and then pour it into a bowl. And it would just nicely just like all come together right inside the bowl. And it was the absolute coolest way. If you're a big meal prepper, that's the way to incorporate more salads into your diet, because halfway through the day, you're like, holy smokes, what am I going to do? Eat lunch, all this. And you just got this cool mason jar full of a bunch of stuff that you made like a couple days ago. So
that's a good idea.
Those are my tips for salad making. Adam's going to tell us how to dress your salad. Knock twice on that refrigerator door.
Just before we move on, we forgot one element I think that's great in salads is dairy.
So
in terms of like in the dressing, like a buttermilk or a cream or whatever, or as cheese. So many salads are nothing without cheese, including like Parmesan, goat cheese, which mixes excellently with fruits like blackberries and stuff. Cheddar, just any cheeses that you like can be incorporated into salads, and yogurt as well into salad dressings. So dairy is a huge element too, not to sleep on.
I think one of my favorites is it's a port poached pear with goat cheese and candied walnuts atop like a spinach salad with pickled onions.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It is super phenomenal.
Pickles are another thing I often use in salads. So sometimes even just in a regular green side salad or whatever, I'll just take a pickle and chop it up and throw it in there. Or I'll use a pickle juice in my vinaigrette. Or you can get fancy and do pickled onions, like you said, or do like cured lemon rind, or there's all sorts of cool pickles you can throw in there too, which you can really do a lot with wild stuff too, like pickled ramp bulbs and stuff. Go amazing in salads. We could probably just keep coming up with awesome stuff to throw in salads for the next 2 hours, but I'll get into the dressing here.
Hey, what's up, happy people? This is Robert Arrington from Deer Meat for Dinner. If you're into bow fishing like I am, you need to check out about Cajun bow fishing. I've been using their gear for years, from the Sucker Punch Pro to the Winch Pro Reel. It's tough, it's reliable, and it works. Whether you're just getting started or you're ready to take the step to the next level, head over to CajunBowfishing.com and check out everything Cajun Bow Fishing has to offer. I trust their gear because it works. So if you're hitting the water soon, make sure you're rigged up with Cajun Bow Fishing. You will not regret it.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible in golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America NA, member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
So for dressing, especially when we're talking about vinaigrettes, follow a basic ratio. So a classic vinaigrette combines 3 parts oil to 1 part acid. So the oil can be anything you want, any kind of oil. So think olive oil or neutral oils, nut oils. You can get into your canolas or corn oils or whatever if you like. Like it kind of depends on which way you want to take the flavor. Sometimes olive oil is a little too strong for some salads. So I don't always use olive oil, although I use it most often. So 3 parts of oil to 1 part acid. And that acid could be vinegar or citrus juice like lemon or lime juice. It could be really tart juice like a tart cherry juice or something like that. Pickle brine, kombucha. There could be all sorts. You just need like an acid kind of element. So 3 parts oil to 1 part acid. You can adjust it to taste. That's not the strict end all be all. If you like a tartar salad, then just do 2 parts acid, But this ratio provides a balanced starting point. And try using different acidic elements and mixing them to provide more complexity. Use high quality oils and vinegars. So you're not cooking with these. These are going raw into your salads. So you want to be using nice, like kind of high quality extra virgin olive oils, nut oils, avocado oils, that kind of thing. They'll taste way better than your cheap oils, and they're better for you. You can try making your own wild vinegars to amp up the flavor, or you can purchase some really nice vinegars from like gourmet stores. I know they're a little extra money, but if you want to make really good salads, it's worth it. But if you find they're too much money, it is very easy to make your own wild vinegars. And Pascal Baudard, who I mentioned earlier, has a wonderful book that I just bought about how to make your own wild vinegars. So I recommend grabbing that book and doing it yourself, because you could do like a wild blackberry vinegar salad with the goat cheese and blackberries I mentioned earlier, and how good would that be?
Ooh, that sounds great.
Yeah. You can incorporate emulsifiers into your dressing. So instead of having those kind of, if you think of like a oil and bread, balsamic and oil bread dipper kind of thing, and how it always separates, if you add an emulsifier, it will hold it together and it will keep without splitting your oil and your vinegar. So ingredients like mustard, honey, egg yolks, mayonnaise, yogurt can work. They help bind oil and acid together, and that creates a cohesive and stable dressing that won't split on you right away. Flavorful emulsifiers like honey and mustard also add their own notes to the dressing, so you can kind of choose one based on its emulsifying action and on its flavor. Season appropriately. So don't forget to add salt and pepper to your dressing as well as your salad. Proper seasoning is crucial for bringing out the flavors of the salad. And salty things like soy sauce, miso, fish sauce, all that kind of stuff can stand in for salt too and add new interesting flavors. It doesn't have to be salt per se. Try experimenting with flavors so you can enhance your dressing with herbs, spices, other flavorings like garlic, ginger, citrus zest, all stuff like that. Adds complexity and interest to the salad. And you can prepare your dressing in advance. So salads prepared in advance can be bad if it's dressed. It can be good if it's left dry, but dressing can be prepared quite ahead of time, and it's fine. So allow your dressing to sit out for a while before using it. Actually makes it better by helping to meld the flavors together, resulting in a more harmonious taste. So even if you just make your salad dressing at the beginning of starting cooking dinner and then serve it at the end, it will taste a little bit better than if you just whipped it up a minute beforehand. So keep that in mind for some good tips on making better salad dressings.
Yeah, let those flavors marry.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. We've talked a lot about sort of basic building blocks of salad, but I'm going to talk about incorporating wild game into salads because inevitably that's probably why you're all here anyway, is to talk about delicious wild foods. And we've gone on now for about 33 minutes on just talking about vegetables. So we're going to switch it and talk about meat. So with meat, I'd say there's a bunch of different options that you can do with anything. So first and foremost, I would argue that any wild meat in a cooked form, well, sometimes raw form too, can be incorporated into salads. So let's take, for instance, the steak. So I think throughout restaurants around the world, this is probably one of the most common proteins found on a steak, as far as like red meat would be to have just a hot or cold, chopped, sliced, or cubed steak incorporated in your salad, seasoned whichever way you see fit to match whatever profile you're looking for in that. So if we're thinking in the world of wild food, any of your deer is going to be good. Elk, moose, wild pig, sheep, I would even say goose and duck breast. All these make great steak options when you're thinking through it. Within the pulled meat realm, I think we get into some very interesting, cool territory here with the fact that you can choose to create a flavor profile that's going to stick with the meat from the beginning into the salad. So meaning you have to cook those pulled meats longer in order to get them to the shreddable consistency that you're going to want to eat to get them nice and tender. So you can start building your flavors early. If you're like, man, I'm really on a Mediterranean kick right now, maybe you're slow cooking a venison neck with like parsley and lemon and garlic and oil and shallots and all this other stuff in there. And, later on that translates to shredded venison neck on, all your Greek salads for the week. Or you can just go plain basic, take a can of beer or a jar of stock and pour over that, season it with a little salt, a little pepper, and then actually what I think is cool to do is take that pulled meat, mix it with some of your salad dressing before you even put it on top of your salad, because those flavors are going to combine really, really well together. And that can really range from anything from necks to shanks to shoulders. I think off the top of my head, it's turkey season right now, so turkey thighs and legs. You've got goose and duck legs, shredded grouse breast, rabbit. Any of those are like really cool contenders for meat that's going to complement whatever salad you put together. And then if you're a big ground meat family, or say you have a lot of ground meat, or you've got ground meat you don't know what to do with, make meatballs or sausage. Pick up a copy of The Art of Venison Sausage Making. It's got great recipes in there. All those sausages purposely pair well with salads. I will tell you that. Any sausage in that book. Mm-hmm. There's 33 recipes, I think. But you can make meatballs or the whole sausages out of that. I think those accompany really, really well. I think meatballs are fun, similarly to what I said about the sort of forethought of preparing them to match them with salads, or you can take a pretty basic meatball recipe and get whatever you'd like. Liver is a very interesting one, and you have a note in here that I'm not 100% sure about the liver. Can you explain it to us?
So there's a Lyonnaise salad, Lyon being a region of France, that's made with like frisée and bacon and like poached eggs. So it's like a kind of bitter bracing salad with lots of saltiness from the bacon and everything. I find seared livers, especially seared poultry livers like grouse or duck or goose or whatever, go great in a Lyonnaise salad. There's just something about the flavors and like all the bracing strong flavors, and the liver just kind of like sits under the radar and doesn't take over the salad at all. So I would say if you want to try, I have a recipe I think on my website for that. So if you want to try a liver and salad for the first time and you're a little trepidatious about it, try the salad Lyonnaise and give it a go and see what you think.
Oh, I was going to say too, you're talking about the liver and salad. It made me think about the sausage book. We have a salad recipe with bologna in there.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Fancy bologna salad.
Very fancy bologna. So that's definitely worth a look as far as that too. I think we've got a liverwurst one in there as well, which if you weren't a big fan of like full grain whole strips of liver or little strips of liver, if it's a poultry, that liverwurst could be a good companion to a salad as well, the lyonnaise salad. So also too, I think grilled hearts are really good. We just posted that recipe here recently of the Japanese inspired, not yakitori skewers that would be really good with some salad. Man, I was thinking like either like the ginger dressing or your typical teriyaki dressing. With those, that would go really, really well. You could even take the sauce that you make the skewers with, and that could then become your dressing, because it's a very nice tasty sauce on its own. And then we already mentioned sort of like the cold meat salads with chili oil. Well, we didn't mention that specifically, but I mentioned cold meats. Definitely lots of options. I guess it depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to get with cold meat salads, because you can definitely talk about tuna salad and chicken salad and, which we did a podcast episode way back when we were talking about history of like military meals and the pheasant salad. We talked pheasant salad sandwiches in, I think it was somewhere in the Dakotas. They were known during World War II, this very specific train stop, which was a stopover for a lot of the troops heading west to deploy to the Pacific Theater. They would stop at this place, and the whole town had taken up like capturing pheasants or raising pheasants, and they made these pheasant salad sandwiches and gave them to all the soldiers. Well, this place became known for its pheasant salad sandwiches as a result, and like soldiers would love when they would stop there. So that's a cool topic we could dive down further one other day of like, but in its essence and form, like that too is a salad. It's got your vegetables, it's got your dressing, and it's got your protein.
I make them all the time, like just braised shredded meat with mayonnaise and celery, or have grapes or whatever, a little bit of vinegar. They're so good. I just make those like all the time. So
very yummy.
Yeah.
Very yummy. Cured meats. So Adam already mentioned bacon. I think a lot of folks love bacon on their salad. I do. But you can go beyond that too, like pastrami, pancetta, cured sausages, emulsified sausage. So we already mentioned bologna, but mortadella, those salads are very prominent. All good things, and it just really comes at the end of the day, like, what do you want out of your salad? And then the last one I'll hit up, I mentioned it earlier, raw meat. So carpaccio and tartare can very easily be incorporated into a salad. I would argue that carpaccio, probably in its larger traditional form, is unto itself a salad, because it's usually served atop arugula with cheese and a dressing and capers and lemon and all that stuff. So carpaccio would very much be a salad with slices of raw meat right there. So just be careful when you're using raw and wild gathered ingredients. Make sure that you understand what you're cooking and the risk associated with that. And I would caution you to make sure you're following sort of the food rules when it comes to raw.
Definitely.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
That's your money saying it's time for a McDonald's run. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you get more than you expect. Like buy a 6-piece McNuggets and add a McChicken for just $1. Your money says let's go. Get more than you expect with new McValue. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
All right, Adam, fish.
So fish can be added into salads in a lot of different ways. And we were talking, it doesn't have to be fish from the grocery store. I make salads with, bass, with pike, with perch, with walleye, all the different things I catch on the lakes around me. You can use fish fillets, whether you just kind of perch the whole fillet on top of a bed of lettuce or arugula or something like that, or you can flake the fish and toss it into the salad. You can use smoked fish, which works really well in salads. I just made some like a rice salad with smoked fish the other day. That was really nice. You can pickle fish, so I've pickled a lot of pike, and that goes really well in salads. You can use like the jarred pickled herring too. It's really vinegary, so it kind of adds like a lot of a vinegar element to the salad already. You can use raw fish like poke bowls, sushi salads kind of thing. Make sure once again you know what you're doing with your raw fish. It has to be hard frozen first. Make sure you do your research before that. You can use cured roe, so fish eggs. Actually work really nice in a salad, and I've made quite a few with that too. So there's steps to take in order to cure your roe, but you can do it quite easily. On the Intrepid Eater website, I have a how-to guide with pike roe. It goes great. And then you can use like mollusks, shrimp, crab, lobster, all that kind of stuff. Another thing you can do, like talking about the pulled kind of shredded meat salads, and you can flake and shred your fish up, toss it in like a mayonnaise-based dressing, and have a fish salad. Just like, an egg salad sandwich or chicken salad sandwich. You can do fish salad just as well. Delicious.
Or tuna salad.
Tuna, yeah, that's a big one, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. Salmon works great too.
Yeah.
Getting into our wild mushrooms. Mushrooms can be a great stand-in for meat. So if you're thinking like chicken of the woods, hen of the woods, lion's mane, they're really like kind of beefy mushrooms that can imitate chicken or beef or bacon or different things like that, or steak. So those cooked can be incorporated into salad. And I think on the Harvesting Nature website, we might have it talk about it after, but I made like a chicken of the woods Caesar salad. So using chicken of the woods mushroom instead of chicken, and it's incredible. You can also use mushrooms rather than a standard. You can use them as an addition to meat. So you can do like a meat salad or a salad that has meat in it, and include sautéed mushrooms, pickled mushrooms, confit mushrooms to the salad, and it's delicious. And because there's so many different wild mushrooms, they have so many different flavor profiles and textures and characteristics like that. They can really add a lot to your salad. Once again, you use whole or slice, hot or cold. You can just cook sliced mushrooms in oil and vinegar and serve it like that as its own salad. I would caution, though, that you cook all wild mushrooms that you harvest and cook them well. There are a few wild mushrooms that don't have to be cooked, that everyone will say, well, you don't have to cook all of them, but unless you're a professional, just cook all your mushrooms and avoid dying, please. Yes.
You can't listen to our podcast if you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. Poor customers, dead people. Yeah. So, getting into forageables. That's, where their salads can really shine, especially in the spring. This time of year, right now, is your best spring or forage salad kind of thing. So you can look for fresh wild greens. You can look watercress, dandelion leaves, lamb's quarters, purslane, chickweed, galansoga, chart lily, mustards, dock, curly sour dock. There's all sorts out there. You can either make a big salad using like all dandelions, or you can make a salad that has a little bit of everything, and it's going to be fresh and slightly bitter and so tasty. You can also cook or blanch wild greens to make a salad. And the Greeks have this salad called a horta. It's basically just like boiled or blanched greens mixed with like olive oil, and it's often feta cheese and stuff. It's delicious. Things like dandelion greens and nettles are good for this. Also, kind of the more bitter greens can benefit from being blanched in a few changes of water to remove that bitterness. And then you can just kind of have like a dressed cooked greens with lemon and olive oil and salt and pepper. It's delicious. Also coming up this time of the year, there's fiddleheads and asparagus. You want to make sure the fiddleheads are always cooked first because they are mildly toxic when not cooked. But asparagus can just be eaten raw or cooked. So I would recommend trying like shaving asparagus with a vegetable peeler and just have ribbons of asparagus in your salad. You can also have cooked asparagus, cooked fiddleheads. They just are an excellent addition. Then comes the aromatics. We have lots of wild onion. We have ramps coming up now, ramp bulbs, lots of different cool flavored things out there. Edible flowers. even dandelion flowers are edible. You can just sprinkle in flowers and it adds a little bit of sweetness and taste to your salad, and also just makes it pop with beautiful color. They're not technically wild, but nasturtiums, I grow them every year in my garden, and I lace everything with nasturtium flowers and leaves because they taste nice and peppery and they look beautiful. Wild fruits, service berries, blackberries, blackcaps, raspberries, wild apples. The list is endless. Cranberries, they can all be added in, fresh or dried. Same with nuts. If you're looking for like hickory, like shagbark hickory nuts, beech nuts, there's a lot of cool wild nuts you can find in the woods if you can beat the squirrels, that are very, very delicious. Roots, so getting into wild carrot roots, burdock root, which is used in Asia a lot in salads. So the Japanese have this salad called gobo kampara. It's kind of like a cooked salad of carrot and burdock root. That's really good. You can do wild parsnip roots. So lots of good roots out there. And finally, we have our ocean edibles, or like seaweeds, which can be used fresh or dried in salads and are delicious.
Or pickled.
Yeah. And we have recipes on the harvesting website about that as well, pickling seaweed.
Yeah.
So
bull kelp.
Yeah. So the options are just endless. There's so many, and you can put this stuff. Like, we've been kind of talking about leafy salads or meaty salads, but think of pasta salads. If you like pasta salads, you can make them with wild ingredients. One thing I make a lot is couscous salads, because it takes like 5 minutes to cook. You can use like meatballs in them, which is really good, or you just toss a bunch of fresh herbs and aromatics and leaves in it. It's really delicious. If you're into potato salads, you ever had a potato salad with like sliced ramp leaves? It's incredible. There's all sorts, your egg salad sandwiches, you can incorporate blanched nettle leaves into them. So it's not just, leafy salads or meat salads. Just think of the types of salads that you like to eat on a regular basis, and think of ways to incorporate wild game or wild fish or wild edibles into it. And you're going to be happy.
I like how we keep tossing around the word meat salad.
Yeah.
It just makes me happy. Meat salad. But speaking of meat salad, I've got a delicious recipe. So we'll talk about a few recipes. We've got a little bit of time. Maybe we'll hit 2 here. So I'll talk about the Sorrel summer salad. So this is by one of our field staff writers here on the Harvesting Nature website. So Paul is a pretty awesome cook and writer, and he's got this great salad recipe. So it incorporates sorrel, which is a bird similar to the size of like dove. And in order to make this salad, you're going to need about 4 to 8 of them because they are not large. You're going to marinate them in this delicious marinade of tequila, agave syrup, cloves, chili flakes, garlic, and then cook them up in a cast iron skillet. And then from there, you're also going to prepare some acorn squash with olive oil, ginger, cardamom, cloves, cayenne, brown sugar, red onion. And then for your salad portion of it, you're going to have kale, spinach, dandelion greens. You can really incorporate any greens you'd like. Balsamic vinegar, sliced dried figs or dried cranberries, so you get a little sweet and tart. And then some toasted squash or pumpkin seeds. So this is really like a full-on encompassing of really everything that we've talked about, from the use of meat to also incorporating other vegetables outside the leafy greens to finally bringing in some leafy greens. And if you look at the picture, which I encourage you to, the link will be in the show notes, click on it. It's actually got like, it is largely big ingredients and just a little bit of greenery from the leaves. So really, the meat and the squash and some of the others are the big shining element here, and less the lettuce. So I would say it's a beautiful, beautiful, yummy salad that you should be making in the early fall. So yeah. Adam, to you. What you got?
Okay, I'm going to do a Vietnamese-style lake trout salad, which is one of my recipes. It's like a showstopper, kind of beautiful, colorful salad with lots of complementing, contrasting textures and colors. It's made with lake trout, which is often thought of as a pretty strongly flavored fish. So it was sort of nice with the Vietnamese dressing that kind of, it's like sharp and full of fish sauce and lime and everything that kind of cuts through that. So basically, my dog is not happy with this salad conversation. So you taking 4 cups of julienne. So julienne is just cutting into matchsticks. Root vegetables, so like daikon radishes, watermelon radishes, carrots, turnips, rutabaga, parsnip, candy cane beets, golden beets, whatever. They can be domestic or wild. Cucumber, mango, red onions. And you're making a dressing out of like kind of a knock jam dressing out of like red chilies, garlic, white sugar, fish sauce, lime. And then tons of fresh herbs, cilantro, Thai basil, Italian basil, mint, all sorts of stuff. And then I like using the store-bought crispy shallots. I like buying them from Asian stores. They have this perfect texture that I can't ever replicate at home. And then a 1/4 cup of roasted peanuts. Basically, all you're doing is poaching your trout fillets briefly for about 5 minutes, flaking them into the salad, adding all the stuff I just said, and then dressing in the dressing. And it looks like $1,000,000 and it tastes even better. So yeah, give this one a try. Vietnamese style lake trout salad.
It sounds really good. It sounds really, really good. And I think you like a bunch of different types of fish too.
Oh yeah, it could be pretty much any fish in there. Yeah.
Or even like that. I think that'd be a good candidate for like the pulled meat.
Yep,
we
true.
discussed earlier. Yeah, it would be really good.
Yeah, nice. Even if you crisp it up a little bit, like take that pulled meat from the fridge, crisp it up in a little bit of oil in a pan, and then add it for extra, crunch. Yeah, then you're really talking.
Sounds really good. I think like we've covered a fair bit that I hope everyone is now find themselves a little more interested and or comfortable or intrigued by the thought of salads beyond the bottle of ranch dressing or Caesar from the warm aisle of the grocery store. Branch out, make some of your own dressings, create some fun salads, use all the wild ingredients that you have on hand. I would say right now is a really good time to get out foraging for things, as both Adam and I have discussed their own sort of escapades, that the spring is here and it's time to get those yummy plants before they turn grossly bitter. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. Adam, you have any last thoughts?
I say just kind of go for it. Like, one thing I enjoy doing, I don't know if it's just because my brain's kind of broken or if this is normal, but I just like going into my fridge and start pulling out random things that I need to use up. There's like that kind of sad wilted lettuce in the back, and there's like the beet that I never use, and just start pulling stuff, put them on the counter, and say to your brain, make a salad. And often that's the best salads I've ever made. It's just with the random stuff from my fridge. If you have some leftover roast, or if you have a cold steak or something, it can all go into a salad. It's like healthy, it's quick and easy, and it makes for a great lunch or like dinner. So yeah, just like go nuts. It's probably not going to be gross. You probably have something at least edible. So, and then you can tweak it from there. So yeah, be adventurous, and it's not like you're going to take half of your hard-earned deer and ruin the whole thing by putting it into a salad. Like, you can just use little bits of things, and it's like pretty low risk. So it's a good time to really experiment and take a chance.
Nice. Well, thanks everybody for listening out there. We'll include all the links in the show notes, include some other fun things that we've talked about today. And then please, whatever podcast platform you listen to, punch that 5-star button. Leave us a review. Tell us we're doing right, or tell us that you hate salads. Anyway, thanks everybody. Good night.